Have you ever seen The Last of Us or any of those big-budget zombie apocalypse movies? We usually have this habit of turning off the TV, breathing a sigh of relief, and telling ourselves, "Phew, thank God that's just fiction, but I've got some bad news for you. Zombies are real. The idea of another organism invading your brain, hijacking your nervous system, and forcing your body to do the most insane things is actually happening every second of every day in the natural world around us. This isn't a sci-fi movie script. It's the reality of the most masterclass gaslighters on Earth. Brace yourselves, because we're about to step into a truly haunting world, from snails with eyes that dance like strobe lights in a nightclub, to poor cockroaches being led around on a leash like a loyal pet today. Join me as we explore the dark world of the Body Snatchers, and I have a sincere warning before we begin. You might not want to watch this while you're eating. Let's start with the biggest celebrity in the world of parasites right now, the Cordyceps fungus, also known as the zombie fungus. If you thought the fungal pandemic in The Last of Us was terrifying, just remember this is its real-life inspiration. However, in the real world, the victims aren't humans, they're ants. And the process of brainwashing and hijacking their bodies plays out like a perfectly choreographed horror movie. It all begins when a fungal spore happens to land on an ant. It silently drills through the ant's tough exoskeleton and begins growing stealthily inside the host. The scary part, Cordyceps doesn't kill the ant right away. Instead, it invades and seizes control of the nervous system, turning the poor ant into a literal biological taxi. Under the parasite's command, the ant is forced to abandon its colony and climb a plant, reaching a height of exactly 25 centimeters, about 10 inches above the ground. Why 25 centimeters? Because that is the Goldilocks zone, the perfect temperature and humidity for the fungus to thrive. Once there, the ant performs its final act. It clamps its jaws onto a leaf vein in a state known as the death grip, and dies in that very position. But the ant's death is just the beginning of something even more gruesome. After a while, a fungal stalk slowly erupts straight through the ant's head, stretching out to bloom a spore sac. From that vantage point, it rains down death dust on all the unlucky ants moving below, continuing its ruthless cycle of predation. This spread is so devastating that ants have evolved an extreme defense mechanism. If a worker ant spots a colony member showing signs of infection, it will immediately drag them far away from the nest and terminate them on the spot. To save the community, you see, social distancing isn't a new concept. It's been part of the insect world for millions of years. While the Cordyceps fungus uses somewhat crude chemical methods, the Emerald Jewel Wasp deserves to be called the master neurosurgeon of the natural world. Its victim is none other than the cockroach, a creature famous for its toughness and twice the size of its attacker. This horrific surgery is performed through two stings, executed with millimeter precision. The first sting hits the roach square in the chest, instantly paralyzing its front legs and stripping away its ability to defend itself. But the second sting is the real masterpiece of cruelty. The wasp calmly drives its stinger through the shell, aiming directly for the cockroach's brain. This specialized venom doesn't kill the victim. Instead, it's designed to hijack the part of the brain responsible for the escape reflex. The result? The cockroach is still fully conscious and its muscles are still strong, but it has lost all free will. It becomes a submissive zombie, devoid of any resistance. What follows is a bizarre and haunting sight. The wasp bites off part of the roach's antenna, casually sips on some of its blood like it's enjoying a midday snack, and then grabs the remaining antenna to lead the roach back to its burrow, exactly like an owner walking their dog. Once they reach the burrow, the wasp lays its eggs on the roach and buries it alive. When the larvae hatch, they begin a feast of fresh meat right on the host's body. They are clever enough to eat the non-essential organs first to keep the roach alive. For as long as possible, the poor cockroach has to endure the sensation of being eaten from the inside out while it's still breathing. It is a slow, silent, and agonizing death. The vibrant and somewhat insane visuals you're seeing right now aren't CGI. This is the grim reality of a snail that has accidentally become the host for a parasite. Known as Leucochloridium, this parasite has a life goal that is incredibly bizarre. And frankly, twisted, it desperately wants to be eaten by a bird. The reason is simple: it can only complete its life cycle and reproduce inside a bird's digestive system. But there's a big problem. By instinct, snails are terrified of birds and prefer to hide in dark, damp bushes. To fix this conflict, the parasite stages a full-blown coup inside the host's body. It invades the snail's two eye stalks, making them swell up and pulse with colorful, throbbing patterns looking exactly like flashing strobe lights on a dance floor. To a bird, these eyes no longer belong to a snail. They look like fat, juicy caterpillars, an irresistible favorite snack. And it doesn't stop there. The parasite literally hacks the snail's nervous system, forcing this slow-moving, light-shedding creature to crawl out onto the highest, most exposed branches in broad daylight. The sole purpose is to advertise itself to predators from above. When a bird swoops down and plucks off the snail's eyes, the parasite officially enters its version of paradise, the bird's stomach, to continue its life cycle. And here's the worst part for the snail. Biologically speaking, its eyes will grow back, but as soon as they do, they'll be reinfected by other parasitic spores already waiting in the wings. It is a literal loop of living hell that never ends. Now, let's step away from the insect world for a moment to talk about something much closer to home. Do you have a cute cat living in your house? If the answer is yes, then you're going to want to listen very closely to this next part. Meet Toxoplasma gondii, a microscopic parasite that possesses mind-blowing manipulation skills. This creature has one golden rule for survival: it can only reproduce sexually inside the digestive tract of a cat. However, it often starts its journey inside the body of a mouse. So, how does it migrate from a mouse to the stomach of a cat? The answer is a spectacular case of brainwashing. Normally, mice have an instinctive fear of cat urine. One whiff of it and they're gone. But once infected with Toxoplasma, the mouse's brain is completely rewired. Instead of fear, it finds the scent of cat urine incredibly attractive. The poor mouse suddenly becomes insanely brave. It loses its survival instinct entirely, even going as far as to actively seek out cats just to deliver itself on a silver platter. It is a pre-programmed death, designed solely to get the parasite to its final destination. But here is the part that will truly give you the chills. Over 30% of the entire human population is currently carrying this parasite, contracted through contact with cat litter or undercooked meat. Scientists are currently locked in a heated debate. Is Toxoplasma silently influencing our personalities? Some shocking studies suggest that infected individuals tend to take more risks, are more likely to be involved in traffic accidents, and strangest of all, they have a higher tendency to love owning cats than the average person. Could it be that we, too, are being psychologically manipulated by a microscopic organism without even realizing it? Finally, we come to the most horrifying tale of invasion and bodily possession, the story of Sacculina. Their victims are unfortunate crabs. When a Sacculina larva finds its target, it doesn't attack from the outside. Instead, it stealthily injects a microscopic cluster of cells into the thin, vulnerable cracks in the crab's shell. Once inside, this invader begins a terrifying expansion. It doesn't just live as a parasite, it starts to grow roots. These biological roots spread throughout the crab's body, wrapping around every muscle and weaving through every internal organ. At this point, the crab and the parasite literally become one. The crab loses its ability to molt, stops growing, and most tragically becomes permanently sterile. But the truly gruesome and bizarre twist only happens when the victim is a male crab. The parasite begins to aggressively interfere with the host's hormonal system, completely altering its gender identity and transforming a powerful male crab into a female. The male's abdomen is forced to widen, creating space to carry the parasite's massive egg sac. The crab is brainwashed to a pathetic degree. It has no idea it's carrying its own destruction. On the contrary, it devotes its entire mind to nurturing, grooming and protecting the parasite's eggs as if they were its own flesh and blood. When the eggs are ready to hatch, the crab will climb to the highest rocks and vigorously wave the water, enthusiastically helping the parasite's larvae disperse across the ocean to find new victims. At that moment, the crab has lost everything: its body, its gender, and its mind. It is nothing more than a hollow shell serving the ambitions of another. Could it be that we, too, are being psychologically manipulated by a microscopic organism without even realizing it? We often take pride in the absolute belief that we possess something called free will. We believe that every action and every thought is our own to control. But after seeing the fates of those poor ants, cockroaches, and crabs, doesn't the line between self-determination and external control start to feel incredibly thin? Have you ever wondered if those impulsive decisions or moments of madness in your life weren't actually your own idea, but were instead the result of an uninvited guest lurking somewhere deep inside your brain? I'm just kidding, or maybe I'm not. Sometimes the truth is far stranger and more terrifying than anything we can imagine. If today's video left you feeling literally itchy, don't hesitate to scratch that like button to support the channel. Out of all the body snatchers we just covered, which parasite do you find the most terrifying? Let me know in the comments so we can discuss it. Personally, I'm giving my vote to the sheer cruelty of the Emerald Jewel Wasp. Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next real-life nightmares I'll be bringing your way. Thank you for sticking around. Until the very end, have a good night if you can still sleep, that is.